All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I want to do a little bit of a Jets cap space update type of video, talk about where things stand, how much money we actually have to spend, who signed, and also where this could lead moving forward. So to cut right to the chase, the New York Jets have $9.1 to $9.2 million in cap space. And we also have $52 million in dead cap, which is the third most in the NFL, which sucks, but it is what it is. I'm trying not to focus in on it too much, right? Obviously, next season in 2025, a lot of that dead money comes off the books. So, brighter times are ahead, but it's definitely a tough pill. I know I'm not the only one that looks at that $52 million in dead money. Think about it. Even with the cap going up, you have over $50 million in dead cap. It's just like, oh, man. It's like, imagine if like even half of that was utilized to players on the roster, right? There's so many different hypotheticals and scenarios that you can kind of, just let your mind travel down. But unfortunately, it's not the case. $52 million in dead money. But again, 9.1, 9.2 in available cap space. You look at the top 5 highest paid players on the Jets right now. It's Quinnen Williams coming in at a $20.4 million cap hit. Aaron Rodgers next up at 17.1, DJ Reed at 15.6, Hassan Reddick at 15 flat, and then Alan Lazard at 12.1 million. And I think the thing that just jumps kind of right out at you, right off the screen here, when looking at those numbers, where is that $40 million annual number? Where is the 30 million guy? Right? I mean, those are relatively low cap hits for the New York Jets, for this football team, compared to the other, like, quote-unquote win now squads, right? I mean, you take a look at the San Francisco 49ers payroll, it's freaking unbelievable. Like, you're going on the list and it's like, man, 20 million here, 20 million there, 20 million to this guy, 20 million to the next guy. It's insane, right? But the Jets, we aren't really in that position. Now, again, part of that is because we owe so much in dead money. So it's not, where a team like San Francisco has a lot of that money that, in the Jets situation, it's going nowhere. With San Francisco, they're actually utilizing that money. But in regards to New York, I think, moving forward into 2025 and 2026, we're going to be in a really, really good position now. I mean, there's so many different lanes that I want to go down. I guess let's first start off with this. We have not signed any of our rookie contracts yet. So that $9 million will be going down. We still have to figure out a way to clear more money. Despite trading Zach Wilson, despite trading JFM, there's still opportunities and ways that the Jets can lower that number, whether it be, other contract restructures, whether it be extending DJ Reed, lowering his number from 15.6 down to, whatever number that they agree upon, right? You can bring it down to like 9 or 10 or even 8, 7 or something like that. But then just give DJ Reed the money in the extension anyway in future years when the Jets have more cap space. And again, another thing to kind of think about, the cap is projected to keep rising as the years go on, right? The more popular the NFL gets, that cap number, right, that high-end number is probably going to keep going up. I don't see the NFL, losing a ton of popularity real quick or something like that. Obviously, it did a couple years ago back in the virus year, but that was because of the virus, right? So, yeah, again, I think I think when we talk about the financial future of the Jets in the NFL, there's going to be a lot of money that's being spent. Now, with that comes players' asking prices going up. I mean, we're seeing literal record-breaking deals every offseason, which is insane. At numerous positions too, by the way. I mean, I was looking at the wide receiver contract annual rates a couple days ago, actually with Tyson from Let's Talk Jets Radio, and I'm like, man, these guys are getting paid so much money. But again, first things first here, sign the rookie draft picks. I want to get these guys locked in. Fortunately, it's not like how it was 20 years ago where there was, or even 10, 15 years ago, where there was like negotiations and all these different, like all these crazy contract talks and negotiations. Everything is pretty much laid out in front of you. It's just the nuance, the specifics that have to be dove into. So let's get these rookies signed. I mean, there's been a bunch of rookies that are already signed. The Jets haven't signed one. So that's first order of business. Number two, what's the free agent market looking like? I think there are tons of players that make sense for this Jets team, whether it's a Quandre Diggs, whether it's another wide receiver, whether it's Justin Simmons, right? You can go down the list. There's interior offensive line depth, right? Dalton Risner would be an awesome fit. What happens with Hairbig in Pittsburgh, right? If he gets cut, I would love to have him back, right? So I think there's tons of players that make sense for this Jets team, both offensively and defensively. Now, will the Jets sign one? I don't know. I would assume so. I'm still thinking the Jets are going to sign one more piece, at least one more like notable piece before the start of the season. Whether that's in the next couple of weeks or it's in the next couple of months, I still feel like Joe Douglas wants to add at least one more guy to the squad. Another thing to also keep in mind, you know, because I know it gets enticing, right? Diggs, Justin Simmons, all these different guys. Let's just spend the money. We're a win-now team. I think it is important for New York to leave some breathing room out on the table for the trade deadline. I think the trade deadline will be huge for this Jets team, whether it's a Devontae Adams or any sort of impact type of player that could be dealt. A cool little exercise that you can do to preview the trade deadline a little bit. I always have fun doing this. Think about the teams that you don't think are going to be that great, right? And then minus the teams, you know, subtract the teams that are in your division. So in my opinion, probably not New England, but out of the remainder, you know, what players on those teams that you don't think are going to be all that great makes sense for New York, right? For example, like if things don't go well in Carolina, right, they get 1 or 2 wins. Could the Jets make a move for an Adam Thielen or one of their veteran offensive linemen or something like that? I think it's kind of fun to just let your mind explore. But yeah, so again, big picture, we have to sign our rookies. We have free agents, veteran free agents that make sense. That I could see the Jets bringing in. We have to keep enough money, in my opinion, for the trade deadline because we don't want to be, you know, in a position where, okay, we're on the clock, we're trying to acquire a player at the deadline. Chances are that player is going to have a market, so it's going to be a bidding war. We're already going to have to be giving up future draft picks, which we already don't have we didn't have a second this year. We traded a future third round pick that could jump to a 2 with the whole Hassan Reddick deal in 2026. So let's not get too carried away with trading all these assets. It's just another wrinkle to think about. And then on top of that, you don't want to be in a position where you're going to have to include a player or cut, you know, somebody that's getting paid a decent amount of money to make room for that player. It's just not a position that you want to be in, especially midway through the season. So we have those 3 aspects. But I think another thing that we need to start talking about is the extensions for the young players. We can talk about Sauce Gardner. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say he's going, unless he has a down year or, God forbid, an injury or something like that. It's, in my opinion, pretty safe to say he's going to become the highest paid corner in the NFL. Not necessarily this offseason, but I would say maybe next offseason. The Jets should get something done. It just makes all the sense in the world, right? And the one thing that I'm looking, when I look at these, you know, win now teams, specifically the Buffalo Bills, they do a really, really, really good job of betting on themselves, extending their own homegrown players, maybe a year or 2 too early. We're actually seeing the Atlanta Braves do that too with the baseball side of it. But, you know, look at Ed Oliver's contract. Look at his production. It does not mirror each other in the slightest. He should be getting paid so much more money for the type of production that he's having for the Bills. Josh Allen is another, you know, good example. Yeah, he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks, but the Bills got that done early to where he's not, I mean, look at what Joe Burrow just got, or what Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Like, there's so many big quarterback contracts out on the market, and yes, Josh Allen is one of them, but it's not number 1 or number 2, you know, in the NFL, or even number 3. And, you know, Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback, so, again, it's good value there. So I would like, ideally, for the Jets to get some of their extensions done with some of their, you know, young, homegrown core players, not only just with, Sauce Gardner, but I would like to re-sign Garrett Wilson. I think he's shown, you know, enough through 2 years, especially with you know, the poor quarterback play, the horrible coaching and bad offensive line play, he still manages to get a ton of production, which is absolutely fantastic. You got to think those numbers, you know, theoretically would be going up for this season if everything goes well. What happens with AVT? You know, it's another guy who I think the Jets are kind of weary on right now. They're like, they're looking at AVT like, man, another season ender. I don't know if you want to hand out that long-term extension, but if he goes out and dominates, then I could see the Jets, you know, handing something out. Breece Hall, another young player. I want Breece Hall. I want him extended. Will the Jets? They just drafted 3 running backs in the last 2 draft classes. You know, we'll see how it plays out there. But I think at the end of the day, it's a good problem to have, right? I just don't want to see the Jets in a similar position as the Bengals, where you can't afford to pay everybody and you're having to move on from a T. Higgins, or what we've seen from from JD before is just letting young homegrown guys walk out the door for nothing. That's always tough. Really, really tough. I mean, the whole Bryce Huff situation, you know, comes to mind, but there's a couple more examples out there. I don't think it will, because these are, you know, Joe Douglas draft picks in the first round. They're some of the best players at their position. I just don't, you know, I think there's like literally a 0% chance they just become a free agent and that's it. I think they're either, you know, worst case scenario, they're going to be traded for something. But, I want to say 90 to 95%. Both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner will be re-signed, which is really, really important. And also, you know, what about the other guys? Michael Carter, DJ Reed's a little bit up there, but I would like to get something done with him. He's only 28 years old. There's been a lot of rumors about a Hassan Reddick contract extension, and that's super interesting because he's 30. We already have 2 young pass rushers on cheap deals in Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. We do know that Ulbrich and Saleh can maximize defensive ends' talents within this style of defense. So, you know, if the Jets want to go out and pay Hassan Reddick a ton of money, which you kind of feel like the Jets are planning on doing, because I just don't know if they view Hassan Reddick as a rental, then what does it mean for Jermaine Johnson when it's his time to get paid? What does that mean for Will McDonald's, right? Can we afford to pay? You know, it's just a convoluted kind of situation. Last thing I want to leave off on, the amount of 1-year deals on this team is a bit alarming. So I don't want to be in a position where we're ending the season and it's like, oh my God, we got to re-sign. I mean, just to quickly go down the list, Hassan Reddick, 1-year deal. DJ Reed, last year of his deal. Tyler Conklin, Morgan Moses, Tyron Smith, Javon Kinlaw, Chuck Clark, Ashton Davis, Mike Williams, Lecky Fotu, and Brandon Eccles, right? We have a lot of guys just on expiring contracts. So, you know, in a sense, this is kind of a big prove-it year for a lot of these different players. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section on the whole cap space situation and the outlook for the future. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Enjoy your Sunday till we get the draft lottery coming up here in a couple hours. We got the, you know, more playoff basketball, Pacers, Knicks later. Should be a lot of fun. Anyway, thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.